Josh McDaniels, how we doing this week?
Great. How you guys doing?
We're good. I wanted to start, probably no surprise to you, with the quarterback. Last time we talked to you, people were asking questions about, is there too much on Drake Maye's plate? There's been a couple games since then, a really nice performance in Miami, and then what I personally thought was a pretty good performance last week, if you could just sort of take away the turnovers. I wonder how the last couple of weeks you've seen Drake Maye develop.
Yeah, I mean, I think every week, as we talked about earlier, and certainly seems to be the conversation, it is an opportunity for him to continue to grow and improve. And I am really excited about what he does on a weekly basis. He's experiencing plenty for the first time, and I think he's done plenty of things well. And then there's some things that we're learning how to do better, and we learn from. So he's a pretty quick study. Like I said, I'm super excited about what the future holds for him. But he attacks each week the right way, and certainly think we've seen some progress from him in a lot of different areas.
So, Josh, those of us that have been watching the New England Patriots for far too much of our lives have a good idea how the Bill Belichick administration would have handled a game or the aftermath of a game where there were 5-6 turnovers, depending on if you count the downs. How does the Vrabel administration handle it? What's been the internal reaction, and how have you guys tried to clean that up going forward this week?
Well, I'll let Vrabel speak for himself about that, obviously. But look, our job offensively is to score points and protect the ball. And so from a coaching perspective, if there's things that show up in a game, which there always is, because this is a sport of imperfection, we're going to have to try to fix the things and continue to work on the things that we don't feel like we're doing well enough, whatever those might be. And those are constant. So this last week so happened to be the turnover bug. And so, handling it with, fundamentals and creating good habits of ball security. And again, you work on that every day in football. And so, but I think it's easy to say that, when you don't do it well enough, that you haven't created a good enough habit. So from a coaching perspective, it's our job to try to ingrain those habits into our players and to, eventually get to the point where we're playing penalty-free, turnover-free football and see what the results look like when we get to that point.
Josh, Trayvon Henderson is a guy that a lot of Patriots fans were really excited about, not just on draft day, but seeing him this summer, preseason action. Hasn't gotten off to the greatest of starts through 3 weeks. Just wondering, what can Trayvon Henderson do to make better use of what opportunities he gets?
I'm not discouraged with Trayvon at all. I think Trayvon's also, learning each time he goes out there. I've had a lot of different backs, in their first year, and the production is, it comes, when it's time to come. You know what I mean? And the reality is they're learning as they go. Each week's a different challenge for them. They're preparing for NFL opponents for the first time. This will be his fourth opportunity to do so. There's a lot that goes into being ready to do a lot of different things well on game day. And Trayvon works really hard. He's very diligent about his preparation. We know he has talent, and it's a matter of continuing to improve and make progress. So I don't. Like I said, I'm excited about what Trayvon's going to do for a long time here, and eager to continue to work with him and help him get there.
Josh, I believe Drake Maye is your leading rusher through 3 games on the season with 87 yards on the ground. What do you believe it's going to take to get the ground game going, and could the Carolina Panthers and their 25th ranked rushing defense be the right opponent for you guys to get that going?
I think running the football is, about your execution, your mindset, and doing it in a way that's penalty free, and so we've had moments for sure. There's certainly been opportunities some flashes of good stuff that we like. We just need to be more consistent, and so that's starts with me and trying to do the right things and put together a good plan for our guys with our staff and give them an opportunity to go out there and continue to to do those things the right way. So we'll continue to work at it. Where you start is generally never where you finish. And so, we have a lot to improve on, and that's certainly one aspect of our game that we need to do so.
Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels here with us on WEEI Afternoons on a Patriots Friday. Josh, in that vein, the offensive lines had a couple guys miss some practice time this week. Looks like you might have a little bit of a different lineup on Sunday. How comfortable are you with the depth of the offensive line and Doug Marrone and, what that group might be able to do if it has a little different look?
I think Coach Marrone and our staff does a great job of preparing all their players, and I have confidence in every one of them. And we've practiced that way every practice since we've started back in the spring. We don't just stay in one combination. So I think guys have experience, communicating with one another, working in tandem with one another, and so I have a lot of confidence in whatever group's out there, and we'll see how the next 24 to 48 hours goes. But whatever it is, we know what our job is, and doesn't change what our goals are going to be.
Josh, I believe the Patriots are among the leaders in the number of plays to execute a scoring drive. Just curious if there's been an emphasis on trying to add the quick strike element this week, or perhaps maybe going forward with comfort, see some plays that stretch the field.
Yeah, you always have those in there. And I've kind of always been a believer of, when you do it, it requires execution. It requires the defense to give you an opportunity. Sometimes they play things that, don't present those opportunities to you. So, there's a balance, certainly. There's a balance between being efficient and being, over aggressive and attempting to try to do too much to shorten drives. Sometimes you can create long yardage situations for yourself as well. So try to continue to strike the right balance of being efficient, staying out of negative plays and negative situations, and giving ourselves an opportunity to make some bigger plays to cut down on the number of plays you have to execute to drive the ball. But it's football. Two sides get a say in that. Defense has an opportunity to do something to limit those, and you have to make good decisions when you call them.
Josh, I know you guys move on a little quicker than we do in the media and on the radio. I just need to rewind to the last play last week offensively, 4th and 1+. What was the coaching point on that? What was the sort of failure, the breakdown on that? How could that have played out differently? How did you see that play that sort of ended your day?
Yeah, I mean, when it's zone coverage, there's a lot of things that, people have to do and be on the same page about. I thought we were for the most part, and I think, if the players, always try to do the right thing. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. They're never trying to do the wrong thing. So, I know we were attempting to catch the ball and get forward, get a first down, and in the split second, that it took to make those decisions, you look back on them and you say, you wish you would have done this or that. And I know that, maybe having an extra yard of depth on the initial route, great, or catching it and trying to just dive forward. But, there's a lot of plays that guys make when, they give extra effort and all the rest of it. Just that one kind of bit us in the butt there at the end.
Josh, looking not just at Carolina and New England, but league-wide, offense is down significantly to a point where it's the lowest it's been per team per game in at least, I believe it's 20 years. What do you attribute that to league-wide?
Patience.
Patience.
Have patience. Have patience. It's a process.
It's early.
It's a process. It's September, and it doesn't mean there's an excuse for any of the plays that haven't worked the way we want them to, or the results we haven't received. So we're going to continue to be patient and work at it. Our guys are busting their butt every week to try to get to the point where we're executing at a really consistent rate, and we know that if we stick to the process and get to that point, that the results will come and will follow. So, we kind of look at each day in its own right and try not to spend a whole lot of time looking backwards, just trying to improve the things we can make progress on and be a better football team this week than we were last week.
With that patience in mind, we're actually at Fenway Park today, and we always hear early in the baseball season like, the hitters are ahead of the pitchers or vice versa. Is there something to be said that defenses are ahead of offenses early in the year? Offenses need more timing, practice time, reps. Is there anything to be said for that?
I've never believed in that. It is what it is. It is what it is. We've had plenty of opportunities, and we're going to continue to work at being as productive with those as we can. And I have great confidence in our group. I love the mentality we have. Braves has set the standard and the vision for what we want to become, and we're going to work our butt off until we get there.
Josh, I've kind of always wanted to ask you this question, and there seems to be no more relevant week than this week. When you see the Carolina Panthers uniform, the first person that seems to always come to mind still to this day is Cam Newton. What was that year like coaching up Cam Newton, replacing Brady? The unique circumstances went into that. And what kind of challenge / fun was that for you, sort of like tailoring the offense to Cam back in 2020?
It was an incredible experience. We were all miserable because of what we were going through relative to COVID, but being around that player and that person for a year was a blessing for me. Certainly loved every second of being around Tom and all that, and I know the transition was, different and all the rest of it, but Cam, certainly one of the great players and certainly one of the great Carolina Panthers of all time for sure, and one of the great players in our league, and just getting to see his perspective and his personality, and obviously the challenge of trying to, create an offensive way of playing that fit him and his skill set, and watching how he related to our players, and just had a different leadership style about him. I relished that year because it taught us a lot. We learned a lot, and we had a lot of fun trying to get to where we wanted to get to. I know we didn't ultimately achieve that, but I really enjoyed my time with Cam and still do to this day.
Josh, I know, and we'll get you out on this, you were here in sort of the heyday and the winning of Boston and all the teams in the championships. And the Red Sox, magic number is 1. They get a win. They're in the postseason. Just wondering if you've been following along with the Red Sox little rebirth, resurgence at all this summer. What do you like their chances heading into the postseason?
Absolutely. Big fan of Alex and what they got going on there. And, they've put their head down and competed their butt off all year, and I've earned the right to be in this position, and certainly all of us here are pulling for those guys like we do all the Boston sports teams. And so I'll certainly be rooting, and if I can get to a game on a Friday night or something here down the road, I'll certainly be there and pulling for our team.
Just a heads up, if you want to log in tonight, it's actually on Apple TV. Not everybody has that. It could be a pain in the ass for some of us that are trying to watch the game, and just I'm sure you have it, but.
I don't know how to log on. I know that. Somebody else is going to have to get that done for me.
And if you make it to Fenway, Andy says he owes you the first round of beers, Josh.
Absolutely. Absolutely. More than one round.
Awesome.
They're all on me. All right, Josh, good luck this weekend. Awesome. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Josh.
Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator of the Patriots.